You told me you had food poisoning.
She won't do it.
Out.
That's what happens, you know?
She gets food poisoning.
I get it.
She has food poisoning.
Hello guys, it's your girl Cordy back again with another video. Today is officially day 2 of Caitlyn Clark at USA basketball camp. And when I tell y'all they just dropped some really good content about an hour ago, I'm talking about clips, photos, little practice snippets, the whole vibe. We're finally getting a look at what this Team USA squad is starting to look like with Caitlyn Clark in the mix. Now, think about this for a second. The last time we really saw Caitlyn Clark playing competitive basketball like this was back in July of 2025. And here we are now in March of 2026. That's a long time for someone who has basically been one of the most talked about players in basketball. Fans have been waiting to see her back on the court, hitting those deep threes, dropping crazy assists, and throwing those no-look passes that everybody loves. And from what we're seeing in these new clips coming out of the Team USA camp, it looks like she hasn't missed a beat. The energy is there, the confidence is there, and you can tell the vibe around the team is really positive right now. We're also seeing some really cool moments off the court, too. Caitlyn Clark and Kelsey Plum look like they're having a great time down in Miami before the team heads out to Puerto Rico. The pictures and short videos show them laughing, joking around, and just enjoying the moment. Personally, I think this is great to see. It's been a while since we've had real Caitlyn Clark basketball content, and now it feels like Team USA is making sure fans get a little taste of everything. And honestly, it kind of feels like they're intentionally building hype around this roster, especially with Caitlyn Clark involved, because for the last hour, they have been dropping content non-stop, and fans are definitely paying attention. So right now, we're basically sitting about 2 days out, roughly 48 hours from when people expected some kind of update on the CBA situation. And honestly, we still haven't heard anything. No real news, no official updates, nothing like that. All we're really seeing right now is people online complaining and speculating. But while all that is going on, Team USA has been dropping content like crazy. So let's go ahead and roll this CC clip, because they've definitely been feeding us.
Selfish. That's selfish. Sorry.
You told me you had food poisoning.
She won't do it.
Out.
That's what happens, you know?
She gets food poisoning.
I get it.
She has food poisoning.
And then you run it all excited to shoot a layup and you couldn't even catch my pass.
I did catch it.
Barely. Like, the ref would have hit one of these. 6'7". You know that call? They're like, hey, I don't know. See what they say.
Now, here's something wild to think about. Caitlyn Clark and Kelsey Plum together have over 7,000 combined NCAA points. That's across men's and women's college basketball history. These two straight up dominated at the collegiate level, even putting up scoring numbers higher than legends like Michael Jordan. That's just keeping it real. So yeah, looking at Team USA right now, it's kind of interesting when you really think about it. For the longest time, people joked about Caitlyn Clark being the lone wolf. And funny enough, in one of the photos going around, all the players are standing in a line, and Caitlyn Clark is actually standing a little behind them. It just made the whole lone wolf joke even funnier. Now, a lot of people originally thought this camp would include some of the players Caitlyn Clark had been around on previous Team USA squads, guys like Aaliyah Boston, Sonia Citron, or Cameron Brink. Fans expected to see some familiar connections there. But when you actually look at the current roster and the pictures coming out, Caitlyn Clark and a lot of those players aren't there. It's a different group this time around.
All right, y'all. So let's really talk about what we might actually see coming out of this USA basketball camp. Because when you start looking at the matchups, the personnel, and just the way these practices seem to be structured, I've got a feeling about how they're going to run things. And I'm just going to be real with y'all here. I honestly think Team USA is smart enough to understand that the two primary point guards on this roster are probably going to be Caitlyn Clark and Kelsey Plum. When you really break it down from a basketball standpoint, it just makes the most sense. Now look, this is not a knock on Chelsea Gray at all, because Chelsea Gray is still an elite basketball player. She's one of the smartest guards in the game. But if you really know basketball and you look at where she is in her career right now, she's more of a shot creator. She's someone who can go out there and get buckets at a very high level. She can run pick and roll, she can create her own offense, and she's deadly in the half court. But what she's not really doing at this stage of her career is pushing the pace or constantly initiating the offense from the very beginning of possessions. She's not that full-speed, run-the-show type of point guard anymore. Think of it this way. She can operate like a heliocentric guard, similar to Luka Doncic, where the offense runs through her when she has the ball. But she's not really that Tyrese Halliburton-style point guard that's constantly flying up the floor, setting the tempo and distributing. That's where someone like Caitlyn Clark comes in. A lot of people call Caitlyn Clark heliocentric too, but that's mostly when she's operating in the half court. For Team USA, though, I actually think her role is going to look a lot different. What I envision for Caitlyn Clark is more of a Magic Johnson-style role, running the floor, pushing the pace, moving the ball, getting everyone involved, and basically making the entire team function offensively. She's the type of player who can grab the ball, push in transition, see the floor 2 or 3 passes ahead, and just make everything flow. That's her real superpower. It's not just the scoring or the deep threes, it's the way she processes the game. And that's going to be huge for Team USA, because when you look at this roster, there are a lot of athletes who can run. There are a lot of players who thrive in transition. If Caitlyn Clark is the one pushing the tempo and creating those opportunities, that's going to make this team extremely dangerous. Now, another interesting piece here is Paige Bueckers, because from the way she's talked in interviews and the way people around the program describe her role, it sounds like she's going to be a utility-type player for this roster. Paige even mentioned wanting to play a role similar to Devin Booker, where she can basically fit anywhere. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. Paige Bueckers might be one of the best super role players you could ever have on a team like this. Now, I've said that phrase before, super role player, and sometimes people take it the wrong way. When I've talked about Paige in the past, especially when discussing her potential with a WNBA team, it sometimes felt like she needed to decide whether she wanted to be the main star or that super role player. But for Team USA, that super role player role is perfect. Because if you go back to her time at UConn Huskies women's basketball, Paige thrived in situations where she could play within the system, defer when needed, and still impact the game in multiple ways. That's exactly the kind of player Team USA needs, someone who can plug into any lineup and immediately make things work. So I see Paige being that plug-and-play piece who can play multiple positions, defend, score when needed, and just keep the offense flowing. Now, meanwhile, Caitlyn Clark is probably going to be the one initiating everything. And here's the thing. She doesn't even have to be the best half-court scorer on this team. In fact, there are several players on this roster who might actually be better pure half-court scorers. You've got Kelsey Plum, who is incredibly dangerous offensively. Kahleah Copper is one of the best downhill attackers in the game. Chelsea Gray can score in isolation situations. Jackie Young can create her own shot. Paige Bueckers can score in a variety of ways. So Caitlyn Clark doesn't need to dominate scoring in the half court. Her job will likely be setting the table, push the pace, move the ball, create opportunities. Because once the full roster is together and those players are running the floor, teams are going to have a nightmare trying to defend that transition attack. And one thing that doesn't get talked about enough is how quickly Caitlyn Clark processes the game. Her basketball IQ is honestly one of the fastest in the sport. In my opinion, there are two players who process the game extremely quickly in women's basketball right now, Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese. But they do it in very different ways. Angel Reese processes the game through positioning and anticipation, especially when it comes to rebounding. She often knows where the ball is going to land before the shot even goes up.
The way she seals defenders, anticipates the bounce, and positions herself is almost instinctive. Now, Caitlyn Clark's processing works differently. When she's dribbling the ball, she's constantly reading the defense. This defender moves here, that defender rotates there, my teammate is cutting here. She's thinking 2 passes ahead before the play even develops. That's why some of her passes look almost unbelievable. And yes, sometimes that leads to turnovers. But a lot of Caitlyn Clark's turnovers are actually dead ball turnovers, where the pass goes out of bounds because she and a teammate weren't on the same page. But here's the thing. When those passes do connect, they often lead to easy buckets. So it becomes a risk versus reward situation. If a pass has a high chance of creating a scoring opportunity, it's often worth attempting even if there is some risk involved. That's something that a lot of people who only look at box scores don't fully understand. Basketball decisions are about weighing risk versus reward, and most of the time, Caitlyn Clark is actually very good at managing that balance. Now, another thing worth mentioning is the whole idea of players competing for spots on Team USA. A lot of fans frame it as, Caitlyn has to beat out this player, or Paige has to beat out that player. But that's not really how national teams work. It's not just about individual matchups, it's about which lineups work best together. Team chemistry matters way more than one player outperforming another in isolation. And that's why you'll often see players who are rivals in the WNBA working very closely together at Team USA camp. They're building chemistry and figuring out which combinations actually function well on the court. Because when it comes down to selecting the final roster, it's about building the best overall team, not just picking the best individual players. And right now, based on the matchups we've seen in practice, it really does look like Caitlyn Clark and Kelsey Plum are being evaluated as the main point guard options for this Team USA squad. We've seen them matched up against each other quite a bit. That's usually how these camps operate, position versus position. Kelsey Plum attacking downhill against Caitlyn Clark defensively is going to be an interesting challenge, but it also helps both players sharpen their games. So when it's all said and done, I wouldn't be surprised at all if those two end up being the main point guards for this Team USA squad. But anyway, that's the video for today. Let me know what you think about all of this. Do you think Caitlyn Clark ends up running the offense for Team USA? Or do you think they go in a different direction? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you all in the next one.